Hey everyone, today I'm going to be making two lists, a list of the top 5 most underrated Sonic games and the top 5 overrated Sonic games. Remember, this is all my opinion. This list will be based on two factors, how much I personally enjoy the game and the game's overall reputation to determine how much credit I think the game deserves compared to how much it gets. If you have a different list of underrated and overrated Sonic games, feel free to leave it below. To end this video on a positive note, I'll get the overrated games out of the way first. Now, I'm not saying that any of these games are bad, but I personally don't enjoy them as much as a lot of other people do. At number 5 is Sonic Colors. Now, I know this game does get some hate, but I mostly see people talking about it in a positive light, and to some extent I agree. It's definitely the direction that Sonic needed at the time, and there's a good bit of fun to be had, but I just don't enjoy it as much as some other Sonic games. It feels like you're forced to use the wisps way too much, especially to 100% the game. I don't think this is bad design per se, but I really don't enjoy it myself, and the parts where I'm actually going fast are a lot more fun. I feel like Sonic Forces handles the wisps better by not requiring them to finish the stage and letting you choose another ability to go alongside the wisp you choose to use in the Avatar stages. Plus, using them in Sonic Forces is a lot more fun for me than it is in Sonic Colors. Next up, at number 4, Sonic Heroes. Now, I personally have next to no fun with this game, but I've played worse. But no one ever talks about those worse games. I hear a lot of mixed opinions on this game, but I'll get mine out of the way. A lot of the stage gameplay is repetitive, and getting the keys to the special stages is super tedious with how long the stages are. Even the Team Rose stages aren't that easy to finish so quickly, and special stages aren't that much fun either. They range from way too easy to way too hard, and if you fail, you have to complete that same stage again and again and keep the key to the end of the stage. All this to unlock a final story that, in my opinion, just isn't worth it. That said, since this game does get some hate, I won't say it's as overrated as some of the other games on this list. And number 3 is Sonic Adventure, the first one. Now, a lot of this game is actually fun, but I think a lot of people overlook how slow Amy stages and how out of place and sometimes borderline frustrating Big's fishing levels are. I'm not saying that either of these gameplay styles are bad, but they're a huge shift from the other gameplay styles, and they're not ones I particularly enjoy. The other gameplay styles can be really good, but these two in particular drag the game down, and I feel like this part of the game doesn't get enough attention in the videos that people make praising this game, calling it the best in the series. But like I said, for the most part, I do like Sonic Adventure 1, so I wouldn't say it's that overrated. At number 2 is Sonic Generations. A lot of people really enjoy this game, and as with Sonic Adventure, I'll gladly say that I think it's a good game. But the problem is, the modern stages just feel like trimmed down versions of the stages from Sonic Unleashed. You don't get as much content in comparison, and the stages are pretty short. The classic stages are actually very underrated in my opinion, but when people talk about how good this game is, they're always talking about the modern stages, which I don't find as much fun as a lot of people do. The side challenges that you need to get the keys to the boss feel like they slow you down more than anything, make you visit stages you've already played with gimmicks that feel out of place or just aren't much fun. The bosses also aren't much fun, and in all truth, the boss I enjoyed the least in this game was probably the classic fight against the Death Egg robot with how confusing it is. Call it a skill issue, but I just don't enjoy that stage much. That said, I do like Sonic Generations, even if I think it's extremely overrated. So to end off the first half of this list, in my opinion, the most overrated Sonic game is Sonic's most recent mainline 3D release, Sonic Frontiers. Like I said at the beginning of this list, I don't think Sonic Frontiers is a bad game, but I personally don't enjoy it. I find that the cyberspace stages are one of the more fun aspects of the game, and the parts of the open world that more resemble that kind of gameplay are actually kind of fun. But I find some of the boss fights tedious, especially the ones that take more health to defeat, and in any other difficulty but easy, I have no idea how I'm supposed to get up the trial towers as Sonic in the Another Story DLC. I was able to beat the DLC on easy, but the perfect parry on any other difficulty demands way more precision than I'm able to pull off consistently. I know a lot of you like this game a lot, and that's fine, but I personally can't bring myself to enjoy much of it, which is why it's the most overrated on this list. Now, on to the more positive side. Let's start with the fifth most underrated Sonic game, Sonic Unleashed. Now, I personally love Sonic Unleashed a lot, and it's one of my favorite all-time games in the series. That said, it does get a lot of praise from the Sonic community already, and it's even in Watch Mojo's top 20 best Sonic games, but I think this game deserves even more praise than it gets, especially considering it wasn't that well liked when it first came out. The medal system is really my only criticism of the game. I think the Werehog stages are great, and going back to clear the easier ones once you have more stats can be satisfying to get S ranks really fast. I also really love mashing square and triangle, or X and Y, to see what kind of combos I can pull off, and if one of those combos sticks out to me as really cool or useful, I'll stick with it for a while before mashing buttons again to find something else. The day stages are some of the best speed-focused stages in the series, and the best boost formula stages in my opinion. That said, a lot of people already love this game, but given how many people are still split on it, I still do think it deserves more credit than it gets. That said, there's a reason it's at the bottom of this list. At number 4 is Sonic Lost World. I wouldn't say I love it, but fans are pretty divided on it, and I'd say it's overall a pretty good game, and I do like it, even if the story is the absolute worst of any Sonic game. It's even worse than Sonic 06's story, but honestly, I really don't play Sonic games for the story. I play video games to have fun with the actual gameplay, so I won't dock too many points for the story. And I'd honestly praise this game for a lot of the things it does right with the gameplay. There are some cool mechanics, like having 2 different homing attacks, being able to run on walls, jump between them really fast, and overall there's a lot of fun to be had. While I don't love Sonic Lost World, I do like it, and I think it's way more hated than it should be. Next, number 3, Sonic Forces. Now, I've made it no secret that I honestly love Sonic Forces, but there are a few games that I enjoy more, and one of them was already on this list, Sonic Unleashed. That said, I almost see nothing but negativity toward this game, and while there are a lot of criticisms that this game gets that are relatively valid, like the boost to win nature of the Sonic stages, I do think this game gets a lot right, especially in regards to replay value. If you're not boosting straight to the end, you get to explore around a bit and collect items or find shortcuts, and the avatar stages are a lot of fun, with different wisp powers to keep you coming back to find alternate paths, plus the same collectibles as in the Sonic stages. The Avatar stages are some of the most fun I've had with a Sonic game. Objectively, Sonic Forces isn't really among the best games in the series, but it's also far from one of the worst, and I personally have a lot of fun with it. If you don't like it, that's fine, and I respect that. I'm just explaining why I personally love Sonic Forces so much. At number 2 is, ironically, one of the few games on this list that I actually call bad, and it's Sonic 06. Sonic 06's code is held together with duct tape and Elmer's glue, but honestly, that kinda makes this game so much fun. The loops in the speed stages require you to be perfectly aligned once you get on them, or else they don't work. Those provide me with a bit of extra challenge, and abusing Omega's hover by spamming the A button or X button over and over makes his stages a lot more fun. If this game had more time to cook, the design and the code could have definitely been ironed out to give us a game that's actually pretty good, but honestly, part of the reason I love this game is how bad it is, and ways that it's actually fun to break and mess with. I know a lot of people already like this game, but I personally love it, and every time I go back to it, I always end up having fun. Finally, at number 1 is a game that I find underrated less so because people think it's bad, and more so that I think it doesn't get that much attention in the first place. And that's Shadow the Hedgehog. This game is the dictionary definition of awful taste but great execution. Its design is top-notch, and for a game as ridiculous as having a cartoon hedgehog swearing and shooting realistic guns, that's saying a lot. And honestly, the weapon combat is super fun. That's probably the part of the game that gets the most hate, and from a tone and concept standpoint, I can agree that it's super dumb, but the way this game executes those mechanics is really great. The weapons are all super interesting and unique, and some are better suited for different situations, which gives you a reason to try them all out. Plus, this game has some of the best collectathon challenges in the series, and most of them are really fun. Even the Lost Impact Hero mission isn't too bad. If you have the cannon weapon, it's really not that hard, and you can take out most of the monsters in one hit. Honestly, I love Shadow 05, and despite how inconsistent his story is and how jarring the change in tone is from a game like Sonic Heroes and how out of place a lot of the concepts are, I do think that it's genuinely a good game. Right now, I can only emulate the game on Dolphin, but if Sega ever officially re-releases it, I'll gladly give them my money because it's absolutely worth it in my opinion. So anyways, that's my list of the most overrated and most underrated Sonic games of all time. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Be sure to press the like button down below, and if you want to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Feel free to support me financially by buying a channel membership or a super thanks, and remember, stay safe and stay awesome.